What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another transfer update video. This is going to be a weekly transfer show that I do on this channel. We're going to go into the latest transfer news and delve a little deeper into who we think Arsenal should bring in this January transfer window. And I think after the last week's events, we can all agree Arsenal need to strengthen in this window. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Let's start off with today's headline news. A surprise transfer being linked with a move to Arsenal today, and that is Liverpool midfielder Curtis Jones. The England under-21 international is being linked with a shock move to Arsenal, really. He's got 2.5 years left on his contract over there at Anfield. He's an England under-21 international, and he's being linked with a move to Arsenal, even to the extent they're saying that Mikel Arteta has spoken personally to the player on more than one occasion about a potential move to the Emirates. Now, Curtis Jones is an England under-21 player. He's on £15,000 a week over there at Liverpool. Obviously, the first major contract that he signed since coming out of the youth system, so hasn't really signed that big contract yet. There was rumours last season that Jurgen Klopp was tempted to let him go, but he has figured a lot more for Liverpool this season. He only made 18 appearances last season in the Premier League. He's already made 12 in half a season, so he's been a much more prominent figure in the Liverpool roster this season. It's believed that Jones has been open-minded about leaving Anfield in a bid for him to potentially push into the England squad. He feels that for that to happen, he needs to play on a regular basis. There are rumours that he could potentially play in that left number 8 role for Arsenal, where Kai Havertz has been playing, where Granit Xhaka has been playing. Personally, for me, I think Curtis Jones is a good player. It's just, you know, I have this problem with Arsenal signing players from rivals and sort of creating a player. I almost look at it and think, if you're signing Curtis Jones, why can Emile Smith-Rowe not play that role? Smith-Rowe has been further ahead than Jones. He's already played for England. He signed that new contract on 100 grand plus. He's had a 10-goal Premier League season. Why do you need to go to Liverpool and buy a 22-year-old midfielder when you have one at Arsenal that has actually been further ahead than Jones? Although at the moment, you would argue Jones is further ahead than Emile Smith-Rowe. So it's believed Arsenal would be looking to pay around 30 to 35 million for Jones. Rumours that Liverpool would want around 40 to 45 million. For me, I just look at it as Jurgen Klopp seems to like Jones. He's involved him a lot more this season. There are rumours that Liverpool are looking to extend his contract with a significant pay rise. He is a Liverpool lad, so he is going to want to stay with them. They're top of the league as well. I suppose the biggest factor will be whether Jurgen Klopp can guarantee him first-team football or not. Obviously, that's something that Mikel Arteta would offer to him if he was to sign him. But then the question mark would be, if you've got Havertz at 65 million, you've got Emile Smith-Rowe, and you've got Fabio Vieira, how would Jones get in the team ahead of those guys? How would he justify that to the board when he's only bought Kai Havertz 6 months ago? Let me know in the comments what you think about Curtis Jones. I suppose the other thing is, would Jurgen Klopp sell him to Arsenal? You know, Arsenal are 5 points behind top of the league Liverpool at the moment. You would consider Arsenal and Liverpool in some sort of rivalry. They go head-to-head this weekend in the FA Cup. Would Jurgen Klopp allow a player like Curtis Jones to come to Arsenal? For me, listen, I think he's a good player. But if I was Arsenal, being honest, I would look elsewhere. I don't see any reason that Emile Smith-Rowe couldn't do what Jones does in that number 8 role. And if you are going to sign somebody, I wouldn't necessarily go to Liverpool to go and get that player. I think we can create our own player. So for me, I wouldn't personally go for him. I don't see Jurgen Klopp enabling him to go to Arsenal. But let me know in the comments, would you take Curtis Jones at Arsenal for around 30 to 35 million? Definitely an interesting story there. The second big story today involving a player potentially joining Arsenal is Ivan Toney. I don't think a day's going to go by in this January transfer window that we don't mention this guy's name. A report going around in the Daily Mirror today Brentford will not consider a penny less than £100 million to sell Ivan Toney in the January transfer window. In fact, the rumour is they're going to offer Ivan Toney a new contract with a significant pay rise, with a release clause to enable him to leave the club in the summer for a certain amount. We've seen that happen with Victor Osimhen. He's extended his contract by another year, but there is a release clause. What that does, it takes away any negotiation. It makes sure that if that player leaves, the club who's selling him, be it Brentford, would get the amount of money that they want for him. Listen, for £100 million, I'm a big fan of Ivan Toney. I wouldn't expect Arsenal to pay £100 million for Ivan Toney, and I don't think he is worth £100 million. Brentford have lost 5 games out of 5. They're in a relegation battle. I don't think that's helped any club that potentially wants to sign Ivan Toney. And Buemo, who's been one of their best attacking players, is injured for 3 months. And Wissa goes to the AFCON next week. So they are desperately short of attacking options now. Ivan Toney is available for the next Premier League game. I think for them, to sell him for 60, 70, 80 million is one thing. That could potentially get them relegated to the Championship. And they're not stupid. They know that they can hold on to him until the summer, stay in the Premier League, and still probably get 70 million plus for him. Teams like Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, Manchester United, all potentially looking for a new striker. So, listen, I've said it before and I've said it again. I don't think Ivan Toney will join Arsenal in January. I think he would have joined if the clubs could have agreed a deal. I just don't know if Arsenal have got the money, and they're certainly not going to pay £100 million for a striker that turns 28 before the end of this season. I think we can all agree, though, Arsenal definitely need a new striker, that is for sure. They're being linked again, people, with another striker today. It's back. It's January. It's Daily Dusan. Dusan Valovic once again being linked with a move to Arsenal. Again, it's a story that they're plucking out of thin air, in my opinion. Juventus are having a decent season. They're in the title race at the moment. Vlahovic said publicly at the start of the season, when the move to Chelsea collapsed, he didn't want to leave Juventus. This was his dream club. He's their #1 striker. He's playing nearly every week. They're having a good season. I don't see any reason why this deal would happen. The story in ESPN today saying that Juventus are having financial difficulty and would be prepared to sell him if they could get their 70 million euros back, what they paid for him. Is there any truth in this story, or are they just plucking at thin air a little bit here? We know that Juventus have had problems. They were deducted points last season and fined. That took them out of the Champions League, in fact, out of Europe altogether. And, you know, obviously the loss of Champions League football will have hit their pockets. And they are saying that they would potentially sell him if they could get their money back of £70 million. We know that Arsenal famously were linked with him last January, in fact the January before, and he wasn't very keen on a move to the Premier League. Arsenal was struggling at the time, but I don't see Vlahovic leaving Juventus anytime soon unless Arsenal put a massive amount of money on the table, and even then you're potentially signing a player that doesn't necessarily want to be at the club. So Dusan Valovic, Daily Dusan is back. I'm sure we'll hear his name as well this January. Now, a big report going around today from Simon Jones in the Mail saying that Arsenal are looking for a versatile defender in January. We do have problems. Tomiyasu just come back from injury. He has gone to the Asia Cup with Japan. That runs until the start of February if Japan were to make it until the final. Urian Timber's still recovering from injury. He's at least 2 to 3 months away from being available at the very least. Now, one story that's going around today is a recall for Kieran Tierney from Real Sociedad. It's not particularly clear whether this deal had a recall option in it or not. Kieran Tierney's been injured for the last 3 months. He had an operation a few months ago. He's only made 10 appearances in all competition for Sociedad this season, 8 in La Liga, 2 in the Champions League. Real Sociedad paid £1.2 million to take him on loan for the season. They're covering all of his £100,000 a week wages, which usually, when you pay a decent loan fee for a player, would indicate that there wouldn't be a recall option for the player. However, the Daily Mail are saying today, Arsenal do have the option to recall him after 6 months of his loan deal, which is in January. Now, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. Not only do you recall him, you start him every week. Now, I know we're obsessed with inverting left backs and dropping into midfield and this, that, the other. Forget all that. Let's put it, out there. Kieran Tierney would be the best left back at Arsenal right now. He's a better defender than Zinchenko, and he's definitely better than Jakub Kiwior. All right, he may not be able to invert and go into the middle of midfield and play the same way that Arsenal have asked Zinchenko to play, but let's just look at his pure defending ability. Far better. I think he would be a big help for Gabriel Martinelli on that left-hand side. He's obviously got the experience, Champions League. He's been at Arsenal. It's an absolute no-brainer. Why would Arsenal go and sign a versatile defender on loan or pay a small fee for a defender when you've got a very, very good, competent left-back out there on loan at Sociedad? As I said, it's not clear at the moment whether there is a recall option in that loan deal or not, but the Daily Mail saying there is the potential to recall him after 6 months. The 6 months is up this month. Surely Arsenal fans would say bring Kieran Tierney back. Tierney, Ben White, Saliba and Gabriel. Solid back four until Tomiyasu comes back and Timber comes back. It's a no-brainer. But as I've said before, if it makes sense, Arsenal probably won't do it, people. A couple more transfer stories before we round up. Arsenal winger Reiss Nelson being linked with a loan move in January. Wolverhampton Wanderers interested in bringing him in. They would like to add another winger to their roster. We know that Pedro Neto's been brilliant this season. Hwang as well. Scored a number of goals, but they're short of options. Neto's been injured. They are interested in Reiss Nelson. They'd like to take him on loan until the end of the season. Nelson, according to reports, would be willing to go on loan to a Premier League club. I think he knows, despite signing that new contract at Arsenal, he's not going to get a lot of game time. Reports West Ham are interested as well. Mikel Antonio's been injured. That's forced Jared Bowen to go up front, which has obviously given them less options out wide with side Ben Rama and Mohamed Kudus. They would be interested in a move for Reiss Nelson as well. But Wolves are the front runners. They've registered their interest. Do you think a loan move for Nelson to Wolves would be good for him? Doesn't seem to be in the plans. I think he got that contract on English quote, or I really don't think the manager trusts him or rates him high enough. There's been times where Saka, Martinelli could have come off and he's never hardly turned to Reiss Nelson, so keep your eyes on that one. And the final one, people, Mohamed Elneny, remember him? He's flown out to AFCON today to represent Egypt alongside Mohamed Salah. He's being linked with a move to Trabzonspor over there in Turkey. They would be interested in bringing him in. He's got 6 months left on his contract, and it's believed Arsenal would potentially allow him to go on a free in the January transfer window. He's been at the club for a number of years. I believe he's the longest serving player. He actually played for Arsenal alongside Mikel Arteta when he was a player. Probably should have left the club a few years ago, but he doesn't offend anyone. He smiles, he trains well. Arteta gets on well with him and he tends to get new contract. But it looks as if his time at Arsenal is coming to an end. Trabzonspor interested in him. Arsenal apparently looking for a small fee, but they would be willing to let him go on a free. Let me know what you think in the comments about that. I will be doing this show once or twice a week, so keep a lookout for it during this transfer window. Arsenal need to do business, that is for sure. If the Kroenkes don't spend, Arsenal season could be in trouble. Like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments about the players we've been linked with, and I will see you all next time, people. Bless.